Hello everyone, welcome to the very first video of the Filthy Food channel. I am Phil, and as you might have noticed from the title of this video, we are going to be making a Cubano or Cuban sandwich. So a bit of backstory of why I've decided to make this the very first video on this channel. About 10 or so years ago, a little movie called Chef came out. Excellent movie. If you haven't watched it, I recommend having a watch of Chef. Very wholesome movie about a father and son who are going through a bit of a rough time in their relationship. The father is a chef who used to work at restaurants and then decided to start up a food truck and travel around America with his son. A very wholesome movie, recommended watch, and they go through a few different types of food throughout the show, and one of them is the Cubano. And after watching this movie and after seeing the Cubano, I'm like, I want to make that. And as someone who 10 years ago wasn't super into making food, I was still living at home, I decided I'm gonna make that. So I went to my parents and I'm like, I'm gonna make this Cubano. Is that okay? And they're like, yeah, sure, go ahead. So I got out all the ingredients and I made it for the very first time. And that's kind of what kicked off my cooking journey. Didn't do too much afterwards after that, and then when I moved out of home, I obviously had to my parents weren't cooking everything for me, so I had to cook myself, and that's when it all got reignited. But yeah, bit of backstory on why I've chosen Cubano as my very first dish to cook on this channel. And we'll be going through many other different dishes that I enjoy and new things that I've never even heard of before. A little bit of history also on the Cubano. As the name might suggest, this sandwich it's a Cuban sandwich. It came from Cuban immigrants or migrants that moved from Cuba to Florida during, I think, the Fidel Castro era, around there possibly, or even earlier than that. There's two different varieties of the Cuban sandwich. There is the one in Miami in the South Florida and one in Tampa and Key West area. The biggest difference between the two is that the Tampa Key West area has salami in it. They strongly vouch that that's the best way to go for it. And the Miami one is like, no, keep it simple, no salami. We already have smoked ham and Mojo Pork. I'll be doing the Miami version, the simple version, as that's what was shown in the movie Chef. So that's what I'll be making for this video. But yeah, without further ado, let's get started with marinating the pork for the Mojo Pork. One of the big important things that kind of really brings this whole sandwich together. But let's get started. All right, so let's begin making these Cubano. Let's bring out our ingredients to start off with. We've got a few ingredients that we need to use, and then we will start prepping the marinade for the pork. So we need to do this a day in advance. So if you're planning to make this on a specific day, make sure you do it. A bit of prep work the day before you actually want to be using the Cubanos, or eating the Cubanos. We're gonna need some oranges. We need to make 3/4 cup of orange juice. So hopefully 3 oranges will be enough. We'll see how much we actually end up using. Limes. We need to have a 1/2 cup of lime juice. So I've got 3 limes. Hopefully that's enough. Hopefully it might be a little bit too little, but it's hard to estimate these things with how much juice you would need. 8 garlic cloves. I think we probably need 2 heads, but it's always good to have some extra garlic in the household. So bought some more garlic for just general purpose, really. Garlic's pretty handy. And then we have some pepper, salt, and ground cumin in here. Won't need too much of this. Looks like a couple tablespoons. So a couple of teaspoons of the ground cumin and just teaspoons of each of the salt and pepper. Not much really at all. Then we'll need some coriander. We're gonna have about a cup of this lightly packed. We have some mint leaves, about 1/4 cup of these, and about a tablespoon of fresh oregano. And then some extra virgin olive oil to emulsify it. So what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be just adding all this to a blender, chuck in the orange juice, orange zest as well, we need for the oranges, the 8 cloves and the salt and the spices. Chuck it in the blender, and then, also for the marinade, we need the meat as well. How could I forget? How could I forget? We are doing, so this is about 2 kilograms of pork shoulder for the meat. And I think you want pork shoulder because it's a little less used of a meat, so it's kind of good, really good for barbecuing, roasting and that sort of thing. And exactly what we want. And that's what I'm following a recipe because it's always a good idea. And all the recipes I looked at say to use pork shoulder if you can, but I'm sure any meat, any pork will work as well as a substitute, but you get pork shoulder or pork butt, which is another part of the shoulder. Now that we have our ingredients, we'll get out the blender and we're just going to chuck things into the blender and be a bit haphazard doing that. You know, let's start with the cloves of garlic. So we want 8 cloves of garlic and we'll just lightly bruise them. So 1, 2, 7, 8, well, let's just go 9. Why not? Why not go in 9? Then obviously we don't want the outside bits. So we'll just bruise it like that and then it's a bit easier to peel. Now there is apparently like a way you can like shake it up to get off the peels, but this is fine. It'll be fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I guess we will do 8. All right, next up, we are going to, let's do like the coriander. So we want about a cup of coriander, lightly packed. Yeah, I think that's probably around a cup. I'm eyeballing it. Doesn't have to be precise. It's not like baking where you're gonna get precise measurements of your yeast and your flour and water ratios. That's pretty close. And we'll put the stems in as well. Adds a bit of extra flavor and color. Next we'll do the mint. We'll do, yeah, about 1/4 cup of mint leaves. This is a 1/4 cup. So we'll get the leaves off the stems. Give it a nice kind of fresh, so all the coriander, the mint and the oregano will give a lot of freshness to this marinade, and then you get the oranges and the limes will give a bit more zest. That's about a 1/4 cup-ish. We scrunch it down, chuck that into the blender as well. Next we want some fresh oregano, and you only want about a tablespoon of the leaves, not too much. So we'll eyeball this as well. We just want the leaves, I think. I think the stems are fine, but yeah, it seems roughly a tablespoon, maybe a bit more than that, but should be fine. Chuck that in. What about a teaspoon of ground cumin? Give it a bit of teaspoon of salt, black pepper. Yeah, about a teaspoon of that. Next up, we are going to be juicing. Let's zest it first. So we want to do about a tablespoon of zest. So we'll do the tablespoon of zest first. I've already made a bit of a mess, but we'll clean up after we've done the marinade. You want to kind of clean as you go, especially when you have like breaks within your cooking. It's a great time to just kind of clean up a little bit, wipe the board down, chuck everything in the dishwasher or to the side if you don't have a dishwasher. So yeah, I want to do about a tablespoon of orange zest. I'm just going to eyeball this as well. We'll just probably zest of 1 orange maybe is roughly around what we want. Zested 1 orange juice. And now we are going to juice. And we want 3/4 cup of orange juice. So we're going to see how much 3 oranges will give us. I don't have a juicer, so I'm going to use a fork. So if you don't have a juicer, a fork is a very easy method to get some juicing going. And there's no seeds, so we don't need to put a bit of a sieve. And we'll get a bit of pulp in there as well. I don't think this is enough. I think I underestimated. I think I'm well off. We'll give it our best go though. 3 oranges was almost exactly 3/4 cup. Perfecto. I was a bit worried after the first one, but yeah, that's like just a bit over. So 3 oranges, juice of 3 oranges, basically 3/4 cup is what you're after. So we'll add that in to the blender. And next we'll get the juice of a 1/4 cup of lime, 3 lime, and we'll see how well I have estimated to get that 1/4 cup. Should be pretty close, I think. I did pretty well with the oranges, so maybe I'll do pretty well with the limes as well. And we're just doing the same method, we're just gonna juice it with the fork. Let's get juicing some more. So we juiced 3 limes. Isn't a 1/4 cup on this one, so we use our 1/4 cup measuring. And we'll see how close we got. Ooh. So that's 1/4 cup. And just a little bit left over, so pretty good with the estimations, I have to say. So the juice of 3 oranges and 3 limes will get you the amount that you need for the marinade. So that's pretty good. Next up, it's the last ingredient, unless I've forgotten something, but I've brought out everything, I've chucked everything in. And we want 3/4 cups of extra virgin olive oil. Boom, 2, 3. And that is everything you'll need for the marinade. And this will turn into a super nice kind of green, zesty, fresh marinade for the pork. I'm gonna just clear up a few things and then we'll blend, get the pork into a ziplock and prep the pork. I don't think there's too much to do with that though. Clean up a little bit. So let's get blending. Now you can use a food processor as well. You don't have to use a blender. Blender will just do the job quite well. But if you have a food processor, use that as well. Or if you want to just not blend at all, you can do that. But I think to get the most flavor and get it all kind of well mixed together, you kind of want to get like maximum boost. I think you kind of do want to blend it and food process it. Yeah, let's blend. Look at that. Look at that color. Look at that green. Oh yes, it smells. Now I've done this a few times and very zesty, very green. Got that coriander, the mint coming through as well. So nice. And it's just so nice when you get to roast it as well. So we've got our marinade blended here. What you want next is to grab a Ziploc bag. This is where Ziploc bags are just really good for marinating. If you have a good container, do that as well, but you can kind of get all this liquid together very nicely in a Ziploc bag. And here we have our meat. And I went to a butcher for this. And let's have a look. Look at that. So you don't want any skin. You want skin off pork shoulder. So it's already been de-skinned, and not too much fat on it either. You want a little bit of fat, but yeah, I think you can kind of make do without. So you got some two nice very, I think it's about 900 grams each, so it's 1.8 kilos overall. So you can go near 2 kilos. So you want to just chuck this into, both of these into the Ziploc bag, and then you just want to pour in your marinade. Go ahead and get all the last little bits. There we go. Trying to zip this up. You can score it and stuff like that, but I'm not going to bother. Maybe I should bother, but I'm not. And now that it's all zipped up, you just want to kind of move all the liquid around so it's covering every surface of the meat, so it can really penetrate as it's marinating. So that's what marinating is. You're just basically penetrating the meat with flavor, and then you get a nice kind of flavorful outside as well as inside. And there we have it. That is our Mojo pork for the Cubano. Just got this marinade overnight. It's gonna get nice and tasty, and then tomorrow we're gonna roast it. We'll roast it, and then we'll assemble the Cubano from the fabled movie Chef. That's all we have to do. The day before, that's all we have to do today. We'll let these babies sleep and tenderize up and get nice and tasty for us tomorrow. But yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. Day 2, we have marinated meat, so let's get the meat out. So it's been marinated in the fridge overnight and is ready to be roasted. What you're gonna do is you wanna preheat your oven to about 200 degrees Celsius, and we're gonna be roasting the pork for about 30 minutes to start off with, and then we're gonna crank it down to about 170 and then cook it until it's about 160 internal meat temperature. So it's good to have like a meat thermometer you can stick in to check when it's at that temperature. So we have our meat out. Let's get our roasting pan. We have our pan, and we are just going to chuck it in. Oh, it smells so good. It smells so good. And then we have some leftover marinade, and we'll just chuck this into the bottom, make a nice kind of small layer which we can use for basting, and then we'll keep a little bit in the packet as well. This marinade in here, just in case the stuff at the bottom kind of just dries up, which is very possible and might cause some issues to kind of clean up later, but we'll deal with that. I'm doing a little bit differently. Usually I have it a bit raised up when I cook, but I'm going to decide to just cook it straight onto the pan and have like the juices kind of keeping the pork shoulder a bit moist. But we'll keep this marinade. What we're going to do with this later is grab any of the kind of roast drippings, any of the fat that's left over in the pan, and then we'll use this marinade with the drippings and kind of put it into a saucepan and kind of reduce down a little bit and make a little bit of a sauce, which I don't think is particularly authentic, but having the Cubanos and having a bit of Mojo dipping sauce, it's not too bad, it's pretty good. But we have it in our pan here. We're just going to stick it in for the oven for 30 minutes to start with, and then lower the temperature, cook for however long it needs to be, and then basting every half an hour just to keep that nice Mojo marinade on top of the meat. So yeah, let's chuck it in. All right, and it's in, and it's in. And yeah, we'll let that put a timer on for 30 minutes on my phone. It has been 30 minutes, so let's check out what it's looking like. Looking pretty good. Get a bit of caramelization. What we do is we'll just baste with some of the juices, and we've turned down the temperature about 170 with a fan forced oven. And the next up is we are just gonna let this cook until it reaches about internal temperature about 70 degrees Celsius. Chuck my meat thermometer in. Pretty good. Oh man, I am so excited. I am so excited. And we'll just chuck it back in, and yeah, we'll let this cook, and you'll see the final product. So we'll check it every half an hour. And if I feel like it needs a baste, we'll do some basting every half an hour as well. But depends how in depth you want to go. It's probably always good. A bit of extra basting is always good for the extra flavor. But yeah, back in the oven it goes. We'll see when it's all cooked and done. It's been cooking. It's still cooking in the oven, but it looks like from the meat thermometer that I've left in the oven, it is at the temperature we want it to be for the pork. So we'll bring it out, and then we'll try a few other places with a digital thermometer and see if we are good. And if so, the pork is done, but let's bring it out. Oh, look at that. Look at that, look at that. Looks lovely. We want it, we'll grab a digital thermometer, and we'll see what the temperature's like. 71. Oh, yeah, it's basically perfect. So that's a thick one. So the smaller one will be a bit more cooked for obvious reasons. It's smaller, thinner. Yeah, that's well cooked, yeah. Possibly a bit overcooked maybe, but I'm sure it'll be fine. All right, so that's that good. So we're gonna let this just cool down for a little while. We'll give it like half an hour to cool down. Chuck it on like a wire rack, let it rest, cool down a little bit, and then we can get to assembling our Cubano. And I'm excited because I want some lunch. Yeah, while we're waiting for this to rest, we're gonna grab our marinade, and we're gonna use some of the leftover pork drippings that is in the tray. And we're just gonna kind of reduce the sauce down and make a little bit of a, mojo sauce, I suppose, which we can use for like some just dipping the Cubano in, which I've enjoyed. And just put on like salads and rice and stuff like that. It is super nice. So we'll get a pot or saucepan. We'll grab a nice small one, grab our marinade from the fridge. We'll chuck it in like so. No point wasting this absolute delectable stuff. Chuck that in the bin. And then we are gonna let's grab a spoon, I think. And we're just gonna grab some stuff from our kind of tray. So obviously there's a lot of like burnt bits, which is gonna be a very fun thing to clean up a bit later, but we'll give it a nice soak. But a lot of that fat will be perfect. It's still a little warm, but. So yeah, we're just gonna tip in some nice of the fat and cooking juices into the pot, into the saucepan. And then we'll give this a soak. We'll turn in our induction stove. I love this induction stove. It's got it from IKEA, just induction tabletop stove, and I did this for videos in the past, for cooking in the past, but now I cook most of my stuff on the induction. Just heats up things really quickly, and there's no gas, so you don't get any like fumes and stuff like that from the gas, which can sometimes be an issue. And also gas is a lot more dangerous than just having an induction stove, which conducts the metal of the heat and is, like, even after cooking with it, it's not hot to touch because of the way it works. So you just need to be careful which kind of some pans you use. You have to use some magnetic ones. We'll just chuck this up to about 4, give it a mix, and we'll just reduce this down a little so it gets a nice consistency, like cook off any of the raw meat that might be left in the marinade. And it's already starting to bubble, and it hasn't even been that long. We'll just let this go for maybe like 5-10 minutes. And when that's done, the pork should be rested enough. Ideally you want to have this in the fridge and then cut it up and use it like that. It's a bit easier to cut when it's cooler, but man's gotta eat. We've let this sauce reduce down a little. We're gonna grab a squeeze bottle. So just one of like these, pretty handy thing to have. I use it for oil, and then if you have any other sauces, perfect with that. Am I feeling like I can just pour it in? We'll give that a go. This could go wrong. Ooh. Easy, no stress. What was I even worried about? And look at that, we have a bit of a mojo sauce. So we'll let that cool down in the fridge. That's a nice little sauce you could just have on whatever you want. I've waited enough now. I think pork is ready to be cut up. And we have the rest of our ingredients that we will need to assemble. The bread. I have gone with a baguette because getting a Cuban style bread that's generally made for this is kind of hard to find here in Australia. If you're from Melbourne and you know of any bakeries that do Cuban bread, please let me know. I will also probably at some point learn how to be better at making bread myself. But for now, we are using a baguette. I just asked for the widest baguette they have, so this will do the job. So we're going to slice up a little portion for myself. Let's go here. That should be enough. I'll save this for later. We'll slice it through the middle. Actually, we'll also start our sandwich press or panini press. Now, the only thing I find with baguettes is that they're very thin. So that's why I went for the widest one possible. I literally asked the baker when I went to the shop, I was like, could I have a baguette and could you grab me the widest one you have? We are going to just butter the insides and we're going to toast the insides. Just toast it with some butter, get it nice and crispy on the inside. All right, I think it's still heating up, but we'll let that toast in there. Shouldn't take too long. We also have mustard, Swiss cheese, some ham, some smoked ham, and pickles. And of course our pork. While we're cooking up that, we'll slice up some pickles. Just do it lengthwise. We'll do another pickle. Can't go wrong with pickles. And these are just dill pickles. You just slice it lengthwise so you get the most coverage. How are we looking here? Not too bad. Probably don't want the butter close to the toast. And if you kind of move it around, you get a bit more of an even toast to it. I need like a bigger chopping board, I reckon. Maybe I'll get like a butcher's block, like to take this whole area up. Might be a bit easier to assemble things. Even though the tabletop's fine. And I think I'm gonna have to utilize some of that. So we don't need the pickles anymore. We'll just leave that over here. That's good enough. That's a nice bit of toasting there. Don't want too much. I'll put this back down. Then what we do is we'll spread some mustard. This is Dijon mustard, but you could just generally use yellow mustard. I'm just going to use what is on hand. It looks pretty yellow to me, so we'll go with that. Obviously, not going to be super authentic because we don't have Cuban bread. And with cooking, you got to use what you have available to you. Each region and all their culinary stuff, generally all the traditions are made from ingredients that they have available. So that's what you got to do when you live in different parts of the world. We'll put some Swiss cheese. Try to find like a block of Swiss cheese, but sliced cheese should do fine. And we'll just chuck on, we'll just rip it in half. There we go, like that. Nice bit of cheese. And then I'll put our pickles on last. Now ham. What you're gonna do with ham and even the pork, even though the pork's already warm, so we don't need to do much there, is you're gonna cook it in the press to get it itself cooked and a bit caramelized. So we'll grab 2 pieces of the ham. Now our Mojo pork, which I'm so excited. So we're gonna grab this big piece here and we're just gonna slice off a few reasonable sized. Oh, look at that. Whoa. Now I'm gonna get this taste. That's good. It's a good amount. What we're gonna do is we're gonna add this ham and yeah, we'll chuck in these. And we'll just let that kind of cook a little, get it crisping up a little. Actually, I shouldn't use these metal tongs. Here we go. Grab some plastic ones because it's non-stick. Okay, look at that. So we'll add the ham on top of the cheese. I like to do it this way because then the kind of meats will help kind of melt the cheese in the inside. Might have cooked a little bit too much, that's okay. All right, we'll see if we get some bit more action there. Then we'll chuck our pickles on. And this is why you want a wide one so you can fit more stuff in it. And then we'll crown. We need to add this back onto the press and get it nice and toasted. It's a bit overflowing, but that's fine. Mustard and pickles, match made in heaven as well. Which I only found out after eating my first Cubano. I'm like, wow, mustard and pickles work very well together. So we'll get it played out. Now just making sure, getting the cheese nice and melted. Let's do a bit of a flipperoni. It's almost there. Ah, woohoo! All right, how are we looking? A little bit longer. I think that's pretty good now. I think that's pretty good. All right, let's bring it in. There we go. Now let's give it a bit of a cut. So nice and there. All right. I need to sharpen my knives. Holy fuck. All right. Boom. Let's zoom on that bad boy. So look at that. That is Cubano. Look at the pickles, the ham, the pork, the cheese there. Probably could add a little bit more cheese, but look how good that looks, eh? I am excited. So this is the Cubano. Look at that. Look at that. Amazing. I do Scary to taste it. You can't go wrong. It's so good. Exactly what you want. Got the pork, got the ham, cheese. Give it. So like toasted sandwich without cheese, it's just not good. Yeah, the sort of like mustard undertones give that kind of pungency. The Swiss cheese gives that kind of that melt and umami from the cheese, but also has like a strong nutty flavor that Swiss cheese often has. You have the pickles that cuts the acidity right through all the fat from the pork and the ham, and the pork as well. Getting that kind of citrusy, like I've just been going on about this, like the kind of mojo marinade, and it just all of it together, it just works so well. It is incredible. And honestly, I was a bit kind of concerned about the bread, always a bit concerned, but this baguette was nice. It's nice and soft, flattened really well, and just is a great vehicle for this Cubano. But there you go. There you have it. This is a Cubano. The thing that really the first thing that really pushed me to want to cook something, I saw that and decided I needed to cook that. I'd say it's on the medium to high level in terms of difficulty. We always go put a bit of effort into the marinade and then roasting it and then assembling it. But once you get the mojo pork done, assembling it is just kind of making another toasted sandwich. Pre-slice as well, and then cook it in there to make it. And I might even try this time round to pre-toast and pre-make the Cubano and then put in the freezer. And just have just like a quick meal, quick lunch whenever I need to, right there in the freezer. Because I think apparently that works pretty well. Chuck in the freezer, maybe chuck in the air fryer. So we'll see how that goes. There you have it, Cubano. Up there in toasted sandwiches for sure. Thank you for watching this first episode of Filthy Food. I am Phil, and please go enjoy some food yourself. Peace. So a little post note for the after video. So I've been cooking Cubanos like most of this week because I just have a lot of pork. 2 kilograms is actually a lot of pork. Maybe could have dialed it down back to about 1 kilogram. But the main topic is bread. So you don't have any good Cuban bread or stuff. What I have found to be quite good, because the baguette was pretty good, but it felt like it was not exactly what I was after, and maybe it is kind of more authentic to be close to the baguette, but I have been using, I'll show you. So this is banh mi, and the banh mi bread, just getting at the local supermarket. And so, yeah, so I think if you don't have any Cuban bread, maybe give it a go with some banh mi bread, because I've been finding it's been pretty good and I've been enjoying it. It's nice and wide, very soft and fluffy on the inside, a bit crumbly on the outside, which is normal banh mi, so maybe not super close to Cuban bread like that. But as I've said, I have not had Cuban bread before, or that kind of style of bread, so I don't really know what the best kind of comparisons are. But yeah, banh mi bread from a local supermarket has worked quite well for the Cubano, so maybe give that a go if you can't find any Cuban bread or you don't really want to go with the baguette, because I've been enjoying the banh mi. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and I just want to leave it with that.